Hey friend, welcome back to Bible Tract Echoes. I'm Mike McCurry, your host. I'm going to ask you if you would to join me in the book of Psalms. I've got a good bit of scripture here in Psalm 27 to get through, and we only got today and tomorrow to do so. So Psalm 27, and we're going to read the first 6 verses of Psalm 27, beginning in verse number 1. The overarching theme this week has been wait on the Lord. I'll tell you what, waiting is not always the easiest thing to do. But we're going to talk about from Scripture how we can be helped with that a little bit. Here in Psalm 27, verse number 1, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? We see from David the psalmist, led by God in writing this beautiful psalm, a declaration of faith. Verse number 2, when the wicked, even mine enemies and my foes, came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. A disaster, the disaster of foes. Verse 3, though an host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war should rise against me, in this will I be confident. A decision not to fear. Verse number 4, one thing have I desired of the Lord, that will I seek after, that I may dwell, get this now, in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in his temple. Of all the places you could go, the psalmist, David, he wants to dwell in the house of the Lord. I mean, think about where David got to go. He went all over Israel, running from King Saul. He even went to the Philistines' lands to escape Saul. I mean, he was familiar with the back country already. He was a little shepherd boy feeding his sheep. He knew what all those places were like, and not only did he enjoy the country, not only did he compose some beautiful songs and in that sedate and beautiful area, watching his sheep and just enjoying the nature, but he also got to live in a palace. I mean, he was the king, right? But he chose to be in God's house, a desire for freedom. Look at verse number 5. This is where we left off yesterday. For in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me up upon a rock, dwelling with the Father. Reminds me, sometimes, in those dark times, in those difficult times, we can get a little fearful. Sometimes we can get a lot fearful, can't we? What are your fears? Maybe you're scared of spiders. My wife is not the biggest fan of spiders, not her favorite things. I keep telling her those spiders eat all the other bugs you don't like even more, but she's not a big fan of spiders. There are others, I would understand being afraid of, alligators or snakes or something like that. I don't care how long a snake is. I'm not super. I mean, if it was like a foot long, maybe I'd be okay with it. I don't hate snakes, but they're not my favorite thing in the whole world. At some point, once they get over 3-4 feet or so, those fangs, they got big enough teeth. I just don't want to get bit. And I feel like a snake is always sizing you up. If you were just a little smaller, they'd want to eat you. Much less these 18, 19-foot pythons and constrictors. Like, no way. Not interested. I'm not going down to the jungle unless the Lord calls me there. But I won't be kicking and screaming. But I'll be. I don't know if they have snake spray like they have bear spray. Speaking of bears, lions and tigers and bears. Oh my! There's lots of things to be scared of, right? But in all sincerity, we're not usually stumbling across snakes. At least here in America, often. But a lot of us can be scared of the dark. You ever been down in the basement as a little kid? And you had to go down there for something, and you sprinted back up thinking there is something going to get me if I don't move fast. Reminds me of a little boy. He was the oldest boy. And you know how it is. Oldest boy, you don't want to admit your fears and things. But he was only like 7 or 8 years old. Had some little brothers and sisters. This was out on the frontier, log cabin type situation. And his mom told him, hey, I need you to go get me some canned tomatoes. Those tomatoes I canned recently. You need to go get me some for the dinner I'm making. This was, 1800s, early 1900s, whatever it was. And had to go out to the side of the house and go down to the cellar. So remember those on the side of the house, kind of angled doors you have to like pick the door up. It's like on a 45 degree and open it up and go down into that cellar. You don't have access from inside the home. So it's already bad enough, the boy's thinking. I got to go outside where it's dark. We don't have a whole lot of electric lights like we have today. This is over 100 years ago. Hey, Mom, are you sure we need the tomatoes? Son, go get the tomatoes. And he's like, he doesn't want to admit it. He's rough and tough and hard to bluff, but right now he's being a big cream puff. He's like, Mom, I'm scared of the dark. And Mom, graciously, kindly, a little exasperated, she's got sweat on her brow. She's got crying kids in the other room. There's only 2 or 3 rooms in the whole house. But she looks at her son. Son, Jesus is everywhere, and he is out in that cellar. You don't need to be scared. And on that note, on that word of motivation, she turns back to the stove and starts working, and he knows the conversation's over. He has to go get the tomatoes. So he opens up the door, and already the dark is creeping in. And he tiptoes around to the side of the house. I mean, he feels like he's, not just 20 feet, but he feels like he's 100 yards from the safety of the warmth and the light inside. And he gets there, and he opens up the cellar door just enough. His heart's beating. Clammy palms. And he reaches one of those hands in there. He pulls it open just about 2-3 inches, just enough to get his little boy's hand in there, and he says, Jesus, if you're in there, can you hand me the tomatoes? Well, friend, Jesus is everywhere, but we do let our fears overcome us sometimes, don't we? We do allow ourselves to be overcome with the fears of life. Verse number 5, but aren't you glad we get to dwell with the Father? For in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. He shall set me up upon a rock. Look at verse number 6. We see a decision not to forget. Verse number 6, and now shall mine head be lifted up above mine enemies round about me. Therefore will I offer in his tabernacle sacrifices of joy. I will sing, yea, I will sing praises unto the Lord. Because God has been so good, we need to remember that. We need to sing about that. We need to think about that. We need to rehearse that. The result, the outpouring, the cause and effect, the effect of the cause, the fact that he was so good to us, the effect should be that there should be an outpouring of praise from us. Think of Psalm 103, verse number 2. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits. Psalm 13, verse number 6. I will sing unto the Lord, because he hath dwelt bountifully with me. Look at verse number 7, 8, 9, and 10. We're not going to be able to unpack this the way I want to, but I want to give you just a brief intro, and we'll finish up this chapter tomorrow. I've left the lion's share of it, about half of it now, but we will get through it tomorrow. Look at verse 7, 8, 9, and 10. Hear, O Lord, when I cry with my voice. Have mercy also upon me and answer me. When thou saidst, seek ye my face, my heart said unto thee, thy face, Lord, will I seek. But then look at verse number 9. Hide not thy face far from me. Put not thy servant away in anger. Thou hast been my help. Leave me not, neither forsake me, O God of my salvation. Verse number 10. When my father and my mother forsake me, then the Lord will take me up. And we're going to unpack verse number 10 a little more tomorrow. But you see the fact that God displays his face to us. You know how it is? When someone is so irritated, so bothered, or so embarrassed, or so that they can't even look at you. What a hard thing that is. What a joy it is to know that God is not embarrassed by us. He's not saddened by us. Yes, can we sin and disappoint him? Most certainly. But he wants to have a relationship, wants to have fellowship with you and with me. Numbers chapter 6, verse 24, 25, and 26. The Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. And then a last scripture for today, Psalm 105, verse number 4. Seek the Lord and his strength. Seek his face evermore. Think of a story. For the life of me, I cannot recall who told me this story. An illustration of a father, true story. He was in a car. He was traveling with his family or something like that. His father and mother, and so his children, the grandchildren of his father and mother, were in the car too. And it was back in the day when there was no car seat laws and seatbelt laws were not what they are today. And so the little boy was sitting in the father's lap up front. And so the grandfather was driving, and the father was holding his son in his lap, and the little boy was getting thirsty. And so he looked at his father, and he grabbed his cheeks and said, Daddy, Daddy, brink, meaning drink. Daddy, Daddy, brink. And the father said, we'll stop. He doesn't want to tell his dad, the grandfather, can you pull over here? They just want to keep getting down the road. And the little boy looks at Daddy, says, brink, Daddy, brink. And the dad says, just wait. We'll get a drink soon. And the little boy reached up with his two chubby little mitts, his two hands, and grabbed the cheeks of his dad, grabbed his face, and turned it to him, and said, Daddy, Daddy, brink, Daddy, brink, Daddy. How are you? How are you supposed to say no to that, right? Little boy, thirsty, got Daddy's attention, and he turned his face towards him and made his request. I wonder in your life and mine if we live our lives not looking for the face of our Father, but looking for the favor of the world. Maybe we live with FOMO on the mind, fear of missing out on what the world has going on. I wonder if we're looking for him to display his face to us, or if we'd rather have the attention of a world on its way to hell. I'd encourage you, friend, work for the right rewards. Work for the Father's pleasure. My prayer, as always, is that you have a great day for his glory. We will plan on talking to you soon. We'll wrap up Psalm 27 tomorrow. God bless.
Thank you for joining us today for Bible Tract Echoes, a ministry of Bible Tracts Incorporated. If you would like to receive a free sample booklet of all of our tracts, you can contact us by calling 309-828-6888. That's 309-828-6888. Our mailing address is P.O. Box 130, Dwight, Illinois 60420. A faster way to contact us is to go to our website at BibleTractsInc.org. That's BibleTractsInc.org. There you will find more information about our ministry and details on how you can support Bible Tracts Incorporated. Thanks for listening, and may the Lord richly bless you as you serve Him.